Well, thanks very much, Ryan, for the opportunity. Both Kat and I, who Kat will join in a few minutes, we're really happy to be here today and to talk with all of you. Now, in preparing for this, presentation, we recognize there's kind of a diverse cross section of people involved in real estate. So some of you may know us, some of you will no doubt be our members. Some of you may not know us at all. And we've tried to put together, some information here about some of the stuff that we've really been kind of focused on of late that will be of interest, hopefully, to everyone, whether you know us well or you don't know who we are at all, because we've undergone a lot of change in over the last probably year, 2 years, new CEO, some new leadership. And obviously, real estate in general is undergoing significant change and innovation and disruption and things. And we're really trying to take some purposeful steps to kind of, modernize rapidly, stay ahead of the curve, really be thinking about what the future looks like. And so that's really what we've tailored our presentation on today. So let's kind of get into it. I mentioned the word our brand, the title Our Brand and Our Future. So that's a crux of it, because we did recently rebrand organization, haven't done that in decades, and I'll get into that in a few minutes about why and who we used to be. But starting Greater Vancouver Realtors, who we are, well, we're the professional association of the 15,000 plus realtors in the Greater Vancouver region, as well as the more than 500 real estate brokerages. All the offices you see around the region are also members of ours. We've been around since 1919, so in the immediate aftermath of World War I, we were created to really represent the real estate profession. And so we, in some respects, are the quintessential professional association. We do education, we do we provide technology and a variety of services and public relations and advertising and government advocacy, as well as discipline, member to member, enforcing our national realtor code of ethics, and dealing with realtor to realtor complaints and things like that. So a lot of that, it will sound familiar to anyone if we have, say, accountants and lawyers and other professionals in the audience today, where you have your own respective professional associations serving those kinds of functions. But kind of what makes us different, and this is going to be a little bit of a jumping off point, is that our real estate boards and boards across the country have this thing called the MLS, the multiple listing service. So that certainly makes us unique. And this will be a pretty sophisticated audience, so I don't need to really go into huge depth about what the MLS is, but I will just kind of give you our take on just the whole conception of what it is. And if you think 50, 70, 75 years ago, even in our region, there was no MLS. Other parts in Europe, there is no MLS quite often. And it's a really critical kind of system behind the scenes that kind of brings order to an otherwise kind of chaotic market. And so what it really is that all of our member brokerages and members kind of agree to submit their home property listings and data to us as a third party to kind of feed into the MLS engine, in order to ensure kind of transparency in the market and consistent reporting of homes for sale, real estate information, real estate statistics, that we can kind of report out regularly and consistently to help try to inform the marketplace about what's for sale, what's happening with prices and the market and all of this. And, when you delve under the hood of the MLS system, we have rules and accountability to make sure for things that all the information is correct and in the right format, to ensure the process and the transaction goes well and people get paid and things like that. There's all kind of various dimensions within the MLS system to really try to make for a smooth, protected real estate transaction for the consumers and the professionals who are representing them. So that's what makes our kind of organization unique from just any professional association across, say, the economy. So that's us, and we've been doing this since 1919. In recent years, especially probably since about 2016, 17, with the housing crisis being kind of defined as such, and politics being what they are, and the scrutiny on the market, and so on, things have really come into focus about on our industry and profession and the market. And we looked at our brand, which was the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver. I'll have a look here. This was our names over the years. And taking a look at what the public and our different audiences knew about us. So yeah, we were originally called the Vancouver Real Estate Exchange in 1919. In the post-war World War II era, we changed to the Vancouver Real Estate Board. In 1970, we were the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver. And so for over the last kind of 53 years, this has been our logo. And if you were a member of our organization, you knew us well. Otherwise, you'd maybe be taking a guess. What's a board? Is it kind of like a school board? Are we the government? Are we a disciplinary body? What are we exactly? And with that kind of naming trouble that we kind of found with our brand, as well as an outdated logo and so on, we thought, why don't we be a little bit more plain spoken about who we are, who we represent, and what we're trying to do in the marketplace? That's where the concept came to make the shift in our brand to Greater Vancouver Realtors. Um, just to bring that kind of clarity about, yeah, we represent the realtors of Greater Vancouver. That's who we are. Whenever we're out doing anything, whether it's around the market or the MLS or reporting or talking to government or any of those types of things, it's clear that we're the Greater Vancouver Realtors. That's who we represent. We added some kind of color and dimension to it to try to represent some of our focus on innovation that Kat's going to speak to later. And so this is what we came out with in our rebrand just recently in the first quarter of this year. And so I'll just show you some of the imagery and just so you know who we were. I'm just trying to kind of set the stage. Here. So when you go to our site, it's us every month who put out the second business day of each month, all the housing market reports and our analysis of what's going on in the market, in the residential market, what's happening with prices. Our economist, Andrew lists, actually right before this call, I was setting up a media interview for him to speak about market trends. Here's our websites where we convey all of our reports, but we've changed them in our color scheme and different things. So everyone can kind of know. So just kind of bringing you up to speed on kind of where we are at. But when you do rebrand, obviously it's not just a name change. It's not just changing, the color of your logo and those types of things. It really, if you do it well, in our opinion, it really comes with a strategic shift, a new mindset. What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to stand for your audiences, and tell your audiences? And that's where our leadership and our board of directors came together, and this was the new mission and vision for the organization. I really like the mission because it's clear. There's two things that are our focus. We really want to lead professionalism and innovation in real estate, and kind of underlying all of that is public trust and transparency. We really want to convey to our audiences on behalf of our public audience, on behalf of our members, that we really do want to elevate professionalism. We want to take a very thoughtful approach to it and see, okay, what was the next generation of home buyers and sellers? What do they need from real estate professionals, and how should they be equipped and qualified in order to best serve them? And so that is kind of what we have embarked on with this new brand. And so now I'm going to take you through the one side of this new mission, our efforts to elevate professionalism in real estate. And then again, as I've mentioned, Kat Newel, my great colleague, is going to talk to more about innovation and tools and data that that you can watch out for shortly. So, first and foremost, when you kind of take on like a bold, initiative like this, we wanted to really just take a step back and say, well, what is professionalism? And how is it attained? Is it attained through education? Is it in how you conduct yourself, how you look, how you talk? Is it an ethical thing? Is it a academic thing? Dimension. Because we all the word is said a lot, but what is the real meaning behind it? And we really wanted to kind of give some thought to that. We hired consultants, Brian Friedrich and Laura Friedrich, two brilliant individuals from the accounting world and legal world as well. Brian was a doctor as well, or rather a lawyer as well as an accountant. Sadly, he passed away recently. But right prior to writing this paper for us, he was working with the International Monetary Fund in Europe, trying to help enhance accounting standards in developing nations and countries around the world, and really had a passion for ethics and professionalism and helping industries and things like that. So we're really grateful for Brian and Laura for doing this work for us. And what they really did was look at different industries, similar industries, different industries, of how they define professionalism, what kind of standards of practice they have, what qualifications they have, what rules and accountability and discipline, and pretty broad criteria, and compared it against our realtor community to see where do we do well, where do we fall short, and what kind of actions can we take to enhance professionalism. So that was the point of this document. And since we released it last year, it's really been kind of the playbook that we're following to elevate professionalism in real estate. And so I'll walk you through the kind of key themes that there's 10 of them. I won't that I'll kind of take you through. So first and foremost, if you want to talk about what is a profession, and being called into a profession, there needs to be some sort of entrance requirement, some sort of qualification um, to enter the profession. And so this was a key theme throughout the research. Is this hasn't been explored in some time in real estate. Um, the regulator, obviously, in each of the respective provinces, is that kind of bar of entry of what you need to be licensed to sell real estate. But we did think this is an area where we could work with perhaps regulators, work with industry, work with the academic community, and take a look at what are the entrance requirements for realtors. How has the needs of the job kind of changed, and maybe how can this be adapted? Would the public be better served with people with a kind of compulsory degree? Would it be some other training, some articling, different things like that? So this one came up and was a key theme for us, and we've embarked, with partners, the BC Real Estate Association, and we're talking with the Canadian Real Estate Association, and beginning to kind of even reach out with regulators and so on to say, hey, why don't we kind of take a look at this, and with a long term in mind, see what should the qualifications be in 5, 10, 20 years to enter the real estate profession, given how the landscape has changed. Another is around education. Once you enter a profession, the job of educating yourself, of kind of maintaining that kind of expert, knowledgeable practitioner status. It doesn't just end, or you don't just kind of frozen in time of what you learned before you come in. You need continuing education, which realtors have. We have a professional development program that's province-wide. They have to meet certain criteria and take a certain number of credits and courses. However, we think there's more room to move there as well. Testing competence, and just more scrutiny, more rigorous kind of training in certain areas that surfaced, especially things that are evolving on the regulatory front, around contracts, language proficiency, different things like that. We really zeroed in on and said, this is an area where that we could strengthen over the long term. So competency-based education is the second theme there. Then the third comes in around accountability, and so people are in, you try to get them qualified, you try to ensure that they're continually learning and growing as professionals. But this falls perhaps, it's competence, but it's also ethics. What happens when people breach the rules? And we do have a code of conduct, we do have rules and all those. I don't want to suggest that we don't, but is there room? Certainly the public clamor for it, and our members clamor for it when we see the headlines we don't like, the occasional time where there's unethical behavior. And so we want to make sure we have all the right tools at our disposal to deal with those kind of circumstances where people are flouting the rules of the profession, and so we want to make sure that that's taken really seriously. So that's under review as well, about how we handle that both in our region and in our province. The next I mean, this is another calling card of any profession, is you need that kind of streamlined body of knowledge. You need to have ready access to the resources and information to do your job well, to correct any behavior that or that you may, that needs changing, or anything you need to kind of become more knowledgeable in. So this is kind of ensuring that there's the resource infrastructure in place for anybody in the real estate profession to get the access to the information they need. And so that's a longer term kind of major capital investments perhaps, but another area that we think is a critical foundational piece. Uh, it's so this is an interesting, theme that came as well, as since I would say the last decade, where real estate has become very political. The affordability crisis has kind of pushed that, and it's much more real estate's much more focal point in the news today. Politicians are much more involved, and regulators, and there's just a much greater scrutiny on the market, on the housing market, on the real estate profession today, and we just believe the best positioning for our industry on behalf of our members as Greater Vancouver Realtors is to be a helpful partner to government, to provide context and information. Nobody wants to lock horns and tit for tat in media and fight and any of those kinds of things that maybe people might think that an industry is inclined to do. We're not. We want to be a good partner, and help develop good evidence-based policy when it comes to housing affordability, when it comes to regulation. Anywhere where we can help, we're really trying to dig in and roll up our sleeves and be that helpful partner to develop the right kind of policy. Um, yeah, and this is seemingly would be a smaller item, is address the courtesy question, but it's not. It's one of the biggest things for our members. Um, in real estate, it's kind of unlike any other profession, where you need the cooperation of another practitioner in order to be successful with your clients. You can't just kind of sit in an office and write some contracts and serve your clients. You need to go engage. If you're a buyer's agent, you need to go engage with the listing agent and work out, negotiate and execute on a deal. Now, if you don't have a great partner on the other side to cooperate with in that transaction, it makes you look bad in front of your clients. It causes disharmony. It causes mistrust. So even small things like returning phone calls and being very clear in communication and things like that are critical. And making strides in this can go a long way for the industry. And because when it's not done well, it leaves a really bad taste in the consumer's mouth around their experience, and so on. So we're looking at it, implementing timely communication requirements, kind of better articulating what this kind of courteous behavior is and what the expectations are and what you can't do in today's market. So that's a big one for us. Um, you know, Theme 7 here is finding kind of symbolism within a profession. We saw some great examples of this in the research. My favorite one is the engineers who have the ring. That is just kind of that reminder of the commitment they took to entering the profession, and the importance of the work that they do. Other professions have they have pins, universities and schools, or have songs, those kinds of things that they're not going to cure all troubles that might plague you, but they are important for kind of setting culture and a tone. And we thought that was important, and there were some good areas to kind of to mine there. So one of the first things we've done since releasing this white paper was we created an oath of professionalism that all new realtors must kind of publicly say, and state, and we do it at our AGM as well. The hundreds of members who show up stand up and recite this oath, and the idea is kind of along the lines of when you do marriage vows or oath of citizenship. When you say it out publicly, in front of your peers or family and friends, you're more likely to commit to something. And we think that's important, and we think it just sets a cultural tone. If you have people just doing that over and over again, saying the right words, committing to it, putting their hand in the air and doing it, that we don't think it's a cure-all, but we think that'll put us in a better place with that. Theme 8, minimum practice requirements. Real estate in any part of North America, if we go to a conference and talk to our colleagues, is very similar in that there are always a significant number of practitioners who don't do any activity at all in a year. Real estate has just long had that. They do either other jobs, or maybe they're in more like analytical roles or something, but they're not conducting transactions. I think it's about a quarter of our members, 25%, don't do deals. And within a kind of 2-year period, our last analysis, I think that Kat did. And so, given that fact, we are looking at minimum practice requirements. And if you haven't been practicing, how can you demonstrate competence? So just in the event you do get involved, that you can live up to the standards of the profession, the rules, what's required of you. If you think of an example of a mechanic or something like that, you wouldn't want a mechanic who hasn't worked on a car since 1985 working on your 2023 Tesla or something like that. The technology has changed. You need to be up to the standard. You need to make sure you can kind of perform the right tests and work on the car so that it can drive safely, you can get the people home safely and that kind of thing. And so we're applying that kind of thinking here and looking at potential solutions around, okay, how do you demonstrate that you're still competent, you understand the current practices, and don't present a risk to the profession and reputationally. Theme 9 here is, exploring an articling and mentorship program. Obviously, in the legal profession, articling is prominent, has been for a long time. The accounting profession, we know, has a pretty strong mentorship program in place. And when you have experienced people teaching and guiding and leading newcomers to your profession, we think that's a good thing. And so we really kind of want to work out a program that makes sense for real estate, that maybe incentivizes mentors to get involved, and this provides a little bit of structure to that idea. But that one was another one that really kind of came to us clearly through our research. The last one I'll touch on here before handing it over to Kat is that we're working on is this whole notion. I'm in the communication kind of PR side of our organization, and sometimes you'll hear, well, that's just a public image issue, and or that's a professionalism issue, or those kinds of things. And we really want to kind of draw that distinction between, is it a perception issue? And if it is, then we need to do education to make people understand the correct perception of what's happening. But if it's not a perception issue, it's a real issue, and we need to address it. They're not the exact same thing. So we need to be doing the things internally long-term to enhance professionalism and strengthen it, and at the same time be taking purposeful action to educate the public about what it is they can expect when they work with a realtor, when they get involved in a real estate transaction, the risks involved, and all those things. So there isn't any misunderstanding or miscommunication going on with the public audience. So we kind of built that theme in here as well, to just kind of, they're similar, but they're distinct as well. And we want to think about those, think about these two kind of elements in these ways. So that's kind of the overview of who we are and our branding, what we've done in over the last year, in our professionalism initiative that we've implemented and that we're working on. I think now I'll hand it over to Kat, and she can kind of speak more to innovation and the technology side. So over to you, Kat.
Thanks so much, Craig. And thank you for that great introduction about our new brand and logo and our professionalism initiatives. Also, thank you to Ryan Grant for giving me and Craig and I the opportunity to talk to everyone on the call today. So I am the VP of Business Innovation, and so I lead some of the fun initiatives that we have on the go. And also with the people on the call today, I'm going to try and make sure we cover more than just what we have for our realtors. Craig introduced our MLS, and that's one of the things that really drives our organization and many of the things that we do here at GVR. And as part of the rebrand exercise that we have in earlier this year, we also have been trying to introduce and continue to introduce a more of a shift in how we view the world around us. We are trying to be more open and introduce more trust into the industry. Trust in realtors, trust in the data that you see, trust in the information that is around us, and support our members through opening up for a more trusting relationship. And so that's ties in with our MLS data, where our realtors, they enter in all the details for the property that goes onto the market that is crucial for the transaction, both when it comes to residential transactions, but also for commercial transactions. And so what we also find is that we need to provide a bit more trust in the industry from a consumer perspective. And so one of the things we've heard a lot of is like, well, I was looking at this property and now it's gone. I can't find it anywhere. And so we've been working on initiatives to ensure that we work through those initiatives and those aspects that consumers have when it comes to consumers' opinion when it comes to transparency into the industry and how a property goes through a transaction. And so this all started back in the fall. For the realtors that are on the call, they will know that transactions now require a bit more details once the transaction finalizes, when there's a purchase of a property. And so what we'll see is that there's now a lot more statuses or dates surrounding the transaction. And it doesn't seem like much, but actually what we're trying to do and what we will be doing over the coming months is actually introduce the transparency into the industry through a variety of ways. So the status that we are asking realtors to log is around whether there's the dates around offers that come in on a listing or property listing, and also what are the dates surrounding the closing of the sale. And so we're introducing some statuses into the industry or into our MLS system that realtors can use. So these tie in with the dates that have been logged for the past 5-6 months. And since status is, there's going to be a status that not everybody wants to use it, but it's a status that says it's active, but it's under contract, so which means that there's a conditional offer on it. It is not something that everybody has to use, but it will say to the consumer that is looking at the property on realtor.ca or on any other website where we have these listings that this property is undergoing a contract, and if you want to go see it, you have to be quick. Once the property goes into an unconditional offer, what we'll see is that it moves into more of a pending status. The sale hasn't closed yet, and there can still be things happening as part of the final contract negotiations that might influence the actual transaction, sales transaction. And then once the property is closed, it'll move into a closed status. And so what will happen, and specifically around when we look at realtor.ca as a good example, is what we'll see is that status will be closed but the property will persist. So one of the things that we see when we look at apps for like Realtor.ca, to stick to that example, what we'll see is one of the biggest feedbacks that they have on the app is like, I was looking at this property and suddenly now it's gone. I can't find it in the app. The app doesn't work. Well, actually, the app does work. It's just because it has now transacted and it is now off market and it's no longer for sale. And so one of the things that we're doing when we talk about transparency is to actually tell the consumer, actually, this is closed and it's still here. Here's the property. And so we'll have the listing still, this listing will be gone, but there'll still be a Google Street View of the property and some basic details around that property that the consumer was following. So hopefully what we're trying to do is to put some people at ease that, you know, properties, they still exist just because they're not available on Realtor.ca. They're still there. And so we're getting them to persist on Realtor.ca and as beyond the actual transaction. Now, if you go to the next slide, whoever's controlling the slides, there we go. And so what we'll also find as part of our rebrand and our future sort of mindset and vision is an increased collaboration and partnership within the industry, but also outside our industry. From within our industry, we're working a lot more and a lot tighter with our national association, the Canadian Real Estate Association, as an example. We are working with them on this whole initiative to increase transparency into the industry. And so that is one of the biggest partnerships that we have on the go, and we continue to evolve. We also are increasing our collaboration with other provinces in the country. So we work on innovative initiatives together and partner together when it comes to interesting opportunities we have in the industry for vendors and such. Provincially, for those realtors that are on the call, you'll know that we have 8 different associations here in BC, and the borders have evolved, or the borders have not evolved as the market has evolved over the past many years. And not all associations, real estate associations in BC, work on the same system. And so we're trying to reduce the barriers that members find when they are working with us and our partner associations within BC. And so what we'll see again from provincial perspective, we're trying to increase the trust in the industry and increase the transparency that both members and consumers will see within the industry. And so that partnership goes across many of the associations here, and that will come to fruition over the next 12 to 24 months as we start to roll out new initiatives based on the partnership and the increased collaboration that we have for the provincial associations. Locally, we are working with a lot of our members here in the Greater Vancouver area to look at what kind of opportunities out there in the market. What are they seeing? What are we hearing? What are we seeing? And so we're looking forward to establishing a lot more partnerships with our members and vendors that support our industry here in BC. We're outside of the traditional national and provincial associations. We're also partnering a lot more and collaborating a lot more with other associations. Companies outside of real estate. There's a huge interest in our industry from both ancillary and auxiliary industries on the opportunities within real estate and opportunities to look at our industry and what are the trends in our industry and how can we support other industries and how can other industries support us and our market to increase the transparency and the trust from the public. And so with those collaborations and partnerships, we continue to evolve and we hope to have a brighter future for members, where it's and for companies and for ourselves, where we can see how we support other industries that have a vested interest in the real estate industry. And in terms of partnerships, an interesting one that we have formed, and I think we announced earlier this year or late last year, is a partnership with the CCIM Institute. So CCIM is a education organization that provides very detailed and very high quality education and certification for commercial realtors that are looking to deepen and strengthen their knowledge and capabilities within commercial investments. And so we see that collaboration has been very fruitful for us and for them, as we expand our brand into both and our professionalism, tying into what Craig was talking about regarding our relationships and our professionalism. This is a huge initiative for us to strengthen the professionalism in our industry together with the CCIM Institute. In other news, we also have, and again, tying into our new brand, so Craig touched upon it briefly when he looked through our website. So if we can have the next slide, please. Economics and real estate. So if you have been to our website recently, and you'll see the QR code there, it'll take you straight to our new economics site. We actually have a very good and informative economics site dedicated to real estate, not just residential, also commercial. And what you'll find here on this site that we've launched is a new tool we call chart books. So these are simple and downloadable charts. They get updated regularly as the market evolves. And it shows both, this shows the residential market, both actuals and trends. So what are the trends? What are we seeing in the industry? Is it going to be a seller's market? It's going to be a buyer's market. We've been in seller's market for years and years and years. And did the interest rate, did that have an effect on the Vancouver market and the Vancouver market's pricing and sales? All of this is presented in our chart books. It's really, really interesting to see, and it's free to download. It's available for everyone. You can just go to the QR code and start playing around with it. And you feel free to use it for yourselves in your own work. There's also a very good blog posts in there, articles around commercial and residential real estate. There's forecasts, both again from the commercial and the residential, and really forecasts also on what does it mean when the interest rate goes up and down. Which leads me to the next one, is the video series called The Lead. This is economist Andrew Liss, who creates these videos on a frequent basis, where he talks about policy implications on the housing markets, price metrics, and all sorts. So really a good view into the real estate industry for our realtors, but also for non-realtors, or for those that are not members. This is a website that's completely available for everyone. And again, tying back to our transparency that we want to introduce into the industry, this is a really good view into how policies affect interest rate affects what we do as part of the real estate here on the West Coast. And lastly, another one that we're quite proud of. Let me go to the next slide, please, and I'll take some water. On commercial real estate is our last one before we go over to Q&A. For commercial real estate, if you look at the QR code, he'll take you to a tool called Commercial Edge. This is a tool that's been around for a while. So for those of you who follow us will know that it's there. But this is the Commercial Edge tool is a sales comparison site that is based on actuals, and it has a lot of historical data, and it covers all of BC and all of Alberta. And it, besides the actuals, it also provides some basic information around the property. And there's quarterly reports that's available for you to use, download and use. You don't even have to have subscription to it. The Commercial Edge tool that we have is available for everyone. It is, no, you don't have to be a member. There is a subscription fee to it, of course. But it's a really interesting tool because it is, it turns out it is a very crucial tool for people to use that are not necessarily in commercial real estate. We actually have oil and gas companies in Alberta that use it on a very frequent basis, together with municipalities that use it for evaluation as well and comparisons. We have appraisers in there and really big commercial firms, of course. Commercial firms, as you know, do not necessarily have to be members of the real estate associations, but we do have the biggest commercial firms actually using the platform Commercial Edge. We also have another tool. So another tool that for those that are realtors and they're on call, you might know this, but we have a tool called Commercial Broadcast Email Service. This is for realtors that deal in commercial real estate. And it is a commercial realtor to commercial realtor email service that provides a quick way for realtors, commercial realtors, to advertise whether they have a leasing opportunity or a sales opportunity based on the asset class and based on the economic region that it's in, is able to reach a huge market just through this tiny email service. So this email service, just some stats from last year, this is, you send out an email with your listing or on something that you have a client that wants. But last year we had over 3.5 emails received. And for those of you who look at your open rates on your email, the open rate was over 40% for emails, which is very, very high. So this just shows how dedicated this platform is to the commercial real estate space. It is also increasingly popular between the big commercial houses because they don't have to maintain their own CRM emails, lists and all of that. And so that is another tool that we have that's available. We're also looking to, if if anybody who is interested in both Commercial Edge and Commercial Broadcast Email Service, let us know. We are absolutely in business. And going back to talking about industry transparency and collaboration with companies and organizations, we are absolutely in business. Please feel free to reach out to me. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Craig.
Thanks, Kat. I will unmute. And just one last thing we wanted to touch on before taking any questions you have is we're having a conference of our own October 1st and 2nd in partnership with the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board and the BC Real Estate Association called Pacific West. It's October 1st and 2nd at the Vancouver Trade and Convention Center. And so it'd be an opportunity to connect with, we're expecting about 1,400 to 1,600 realtors, real estate professionals, a lot of great big trade show floor, a lot of great presenters and speakers. So I just want to throw it out if anyone is interested in either sponsoring or presenting or attending or somehow be involved. It's year 2 and we're really striving to make it one of the top real estate conferences in all of Western Canada. Please join. You can email us at info@pacificwest.ca. That's info@pacificwest.ca. If you go to pacificwest.ca, just simple www.pacificwest.ca, you can get all the information about the conference. So just wanted to give a little shameless plug for our great conference that's coming up in case any of you folks want to be involved or join us. That's it for our presentation. So we really appreciate having this opportunity, and hand it back to you, Ryan.
Thanks, Craig. Now it looks like there are a couple questions. If you can check the private chat there and just kind of go through and see which ones may be more applicable.
Okay, so with respect to stratas, is there a plan to ensure more accurate disclosure on the Strata Property Act pre-purchase or at purchase? Because each owner is responsible for strata governance once they purchase, but are rarely informed of this legal fundamental. I mean, a little outside of our kind of wheel of kind of expertise, but I'd say we work very closely with the Strata Property Owners Association, and a lot of focus with our members around, it's always a big thing of getting the right documentation to the right people at the right time, so you understand, the risks and everything involved, so you understand what you're buying basically and what kind of shape the property's in. So it's a big issue, and I think I can say there's a lot of focus to make sure that those documents are available to everyone involved as soon as possible. That's our goal. It should be in place kind of now all the time, but we know the reality doesn't quite match that expectation for a variety of reasons on the strata side, on different party side, and yeah. So I would just echo that your comment, but unfortunately I don't have much more to add than that.
Looks like we don't have any other questions there. So then with that being said, I guess I will thank you for coming again. I'll bring Kat on stage. Thanks again, Kat and Craig, for your presentation. And hopefully, we'll bring you back on again in the future sometime.
Thank you so much for having us, Ryan.
Sounds great. Yeah, thanks so much, Ryan. Thanks, everyone.
Take care.